LATV.
Welcome to Discussing Fitchburg Now. I'm your host, Sam Squailia. Our show here is on charities. We have representatives from 3 charities here, and we're going to be mostly talking about a lot of homeless outreach, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of assisting those less fortunate. Right? We have Kevin MacLean from Our Father's House, Sue Chalifouঁ-Zephir from Ginny's Helping Hand,
That's right.
and Brian Calnan from Catholic Charities.
Yep.
And your organizations are out of Leominster, and Our Father's House is mostly based in Fitchburg, also in Leominster?
We cover most of North Central Mass, actually.
Most of North Central Mass.
Yeah, we serve 20 cities and towns.
Yep. But your main...
The main
Base.
office is in Leominster, correct.
Same thing with Ginny's. We're located in Leominster, but we do serve people from all across North Central Mass.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right, great. And so the main purpose of your organizations is to help those in need, right? The less fortunate, right? And you often have to work together, right? So would you say that you deal with a lot of the homeless population in our region?
Yes.
You know, your organizations are one of the main resources.
Yeah, I would say between
Yes.
the 3 of us, the 3 organizations, we know of all the homeless.
You know of all of them.
We do.
We do.
We do.
Yeah, I don't think that's an exaggeration.
It's not.
Really?
Yeah.
And you actually go meet them, you try to get them assistance, and if they can't get assistance, you actively go and reach them out again.
Correct.
Yep.
And we have homeless folks will come into Ginny's, for food most of the time, or for, a gas card or whatever. We have people that are living in their cars, not necessarily in this really terrible cold weather. But so people will come into Ginny's. We will find out what their situation is. If they are looking for assistance, sometimes homeless people, they're not necessarily looking for shelter. Right, Kevin?
We're not the shelter for everyone.
Right.
Shelter life isn't for everyone.
That's right.
It's one of the resources. Something Our Father's House does, we take people where they're at. So someone's living in their car, someone's living at a campground, someone's living in an abandoned building. We try to provide services to them where they're at, where they're comfortable.
So you can go. So you go actively go and search out people that are homeless.
Correct.
And you'll go to known spots.
Yep. So Fitchburg, for example, I have a list of all the foreclosed or abandoned homes.
Oh.
I check those methodically. I have them listed by streets. It's easier to do in the wintertime because I can follow footprints in the snow. But I check homes on a regular basis. If I find somebody in a home, try to figure out what their needs are, go from there.
So you walk around the house. You don't have keys to the houses.
No, but if the homeless have got in, I can get in.
So you go and
I don't knock.
you just walk right in.
Surprise.
You ever been assaulted?
Yes. I'm more careful now. I'm more aware of my surroundings than I was when I initially started doing this.
Yeah, 'cause I would imagine, if you're homeless and you're living in an area like that, and there are other people around as well, and so you're on guard.
I always announce myself. Most people know Kevin from Our Father's House. So if I come into an abandoned home or even a tent that I don't know who's in it, I make sure, hey, it's Kevin from Our Father's House. I'm going to come in. I'm going to open up the tent. I don't sneak up on people. I always make sure if someone is there, they acknowledge that someone is there, and we kind of exchange that conversation back and forth.
So you might often be a first point of contact.
Correct.
Yep. So you'll look out of the foreclosed properties, under the bridges and the known campsites.
Yep.
And how often do you see new people? And then how often do people come and accept your help?
I would say 90% of the people I engage accept my help.
Accept.
New people, it just depends. It just depends on the economy. It depends on the time of the month. It depends on
Time of year.
And they probably accept your help to varying degrees, I would
Yeah,
guess.
and when I say accept my help, it's not coming to the shelter.
Like
That's
give
not,
them some food.
Yeah, I don't try to spend more than 15 minutes with anybody I engage in a homeless situation. I'm not there to socialize. I'm there to get in and get out. I do have people with long-time street homeless that will say, I look forward to you coming and checking on me. Just make sure they have what they need, but I don't enable them. I don't go back every day. I don't feed their dog for them. I mean, if I have dog food, I would, but I don't enable them. Offer them choices, talk about, is this really where you want to be? we have a lot of people that are homeless that will live outside forever. You have the legal
They
right to
want to be
homeless.
there, and
Yep.
they want to stay.
You can be homeless if you want to be. It's your choice. It becomes a crime when you start trespassing, when you start shoplifting, when you doing things that are against the law.
When you're lighting fires that are
Yeah.
burning.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
everybody can be homeless. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
can stop you. A lot of it's just, talking to people, trying to get them over to you, trying to get them to you. If they're in Leominster, we try to get them some food, some other services.
Mm-hmm. So you'll go, where will you go and go to your street outreach?
Yeah. I mean, anywhere. Fitchburg, Leominster, Gardner.
Where are your regular, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going
What's
to
your route?
actually.
What's your
What's your
regular
route,
beat?
Kevin?
I'm not going to give you exact locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
But any bridge, almost every homeless person you engage is going to say that they slept under a bridge, all across the United States. Probably 10% of them actually have. A lot of times people say, I slept under the bridge last night. I'll go there and there's no evidence of anybody being there. I think a lot of our clientele don't expect someone to check. So I check bridges, I check houses, I check parking lots. Walmarts all across the nation will let you sleep in your car in their parking lot,
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
They actually will.
to the left-hand side.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
Every
That's a
Walmart-
thing.
Yep.
Oh,
It
yeah?
is a thing.
Yep. So I go usually early in the morning.
To Walmart parking
Walmart,
lot?
yeah, looking for cars with steamed-up windows.
How often are people sleeping in the cars at Walmart?
I'm a weekly visitor to both Walmarts in our region.
People are there every day. I mean,
So how often do you meet homeless people that have a car? They have a job, they have a
so-
car, they've just come to an emergency homeless situation.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, a lot of times people will go from a house or an apartment to losing their job and hanging on to that one last thing, the car. Putting all their belongings, everything they own in that car.
if it's on the road legally is another story, but
There's
they
a
have
guy,
the car.
there's a former tech guy that's in his early 60s from Ashburnham, living in a parking lot in Fitchburg right now.
How long has he been living there?
He's been there for 4 months. He's been in the shelter a couple of times. He chooses to go by his rules. Shelter isn't for him. He sleeps near a business that he taps into their Wi-Fi and watches movies and stuff at night. And he's parked in a location where cars are known to park at night, so nobody cares about it. But he's driving a 2001 pickup truck. Nobody bugs him.
Yep.
He lives in his car.
We had a family that just came in recently, and they were homeless and they were living in their car. But then they recently got into a shelter, and they got into our father's house. But they were having a problem with their pets because they can't take their pets with them. They had 2 cats, they had a dog, and believe it or not, finding a shelter for the pets was a huge challenge. Huge challenge.
A
because it-
shelter for the pets separately, or shelter for everyone
No,
with
shelter
their
for the
pets?
pets. No. They were very happy at our father's house, and they were on the road to more stable housing. So that was a very, very good thing. It was a husband and a wife with a child. But they did have pets that they were very attached to, 2 elderly cats and a little dog. And they were really, really having difficulty finding any place to locate the pets. A kennel in Leominster did offer to take the pets, both cats and the dog, and then the challenge was getting them vaccinated so that they could be legally in the kennel. So there were kind of a myriad of other. Every situation
There's
is
layers,
really.
yeah.
There are definitely layers. Every situation is really different, Sam. It really depends on the makeup of the person. It's like.
And it takes you reaching out to the
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
The kennel,
somebody.
right.
The kennel, the vets.
You know,
It was,
every
So they
situation.
might be like, I'm not going to do anything if I can't take my dogs, or if I know that my dog and my cats aren't going to be safe.
That
And then-
that happens a lot.
does
A lot of
happen a
times people will forego shelter because they will not give up their pets. And
No.
Yep.
people that own pets understand that.
But in this situation, you're talking, this kennel would temporarily hold the pets until
Yes.
they could get an apartment that would take the pets?
exactly. And their young son was very attached to the pets, and that was the real problem. The little boy was, think about the situation where you have no home, you're in a shelter, the emotions of that whole
Yeah,
situation, and you're
everything's in
losing,
upheaval.
everything is in
Right.
upheaval. Exactly.
And then you lose your pets that have been with you your whole life.
Right.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
we've had those situations where people not at a clinic or have taken adopted cats and stuff for us for people that are
Right.
more homeless.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Some people will take the cats. They didn't want to give them up. They were just looking for a part, just a temporary place where the animals could live.
Like
you know,
a
for little
foster
while.
situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So there's a guy living in a Walmart in Lunenburg parking lot. He has a dog.
Yeah.
So
A lot of homeless people have
trying to work
pets.
on something for his
They do.
animal right now, so
Yeah.
we can get him in.
We also see victims of domestic violence, that have fled tough living situations and have no place to go. So, we help them out as well. We work with, domestic violence advocates out of the Leominster Police Department, and we try to find shelter for those women, typically, and they usually always have kids, young children with them. So it's a real variety. I mean, we all three of us, we all see similar situations, and then they all have, like Kevin was saying, it's really, you have to do an assessment of each situation because they're
It's almost
very,
like a
very
triage.
different. It is.
You
Yeah.
go through
Well,
a bunch
right.
of questions and ask a bunch of things, and whatever their answer happens to be, or whatever their need happens to be, that's the direction you go in. It's going to be totally different for everyone. I mean, there's some basic things that are the same, but it's totally different for everyone. And then
And it's funny you said that's what we call it, is triage. When
Yeah.
people come in, we do an intake, but it's triage, and we look at all the needs from housing to income to education to health to insurance to SNAP benefits to food. We look at all those things, and then we triage it, and we try and figure out and work with the client to see what will help them best immediately, and then move on from there.
Hey, Dave, can we pull up the slide, or Matt, can we pull up the slide with the emergency assistance?
Oh, hey.
Yeah, here we go. So I got this from the Our Father's House information. Can we pull this up on the main screen too?
what I gave you.
Yes. So here's the criteria for the emergency assistance. Now, is this kind of like what you talk about when you say triage
This is for families,
for families?
and this is through the state shelter system.
Mm-hmm.
So this is through DHCD,
Department of
But-
Housing and what?
Community Development.
Community
Okay.
development.
Which is a trickle down from HUD. But that's just one of the categories, depending on who it is.
Right.
So if the family fits into this category, then we would then refer them to one of these locations or to call that 866 number. I mean, that's a whole other process that neither of us have any control over.
Right.
So this is the Massachusetts state. Can you pull up the one that says Our Father's House next?
Did I give you that one?
Let's see
Yes,
that one.
yep.
Okay, so
Rapidly housing.
yeah, would this be another one of your triage?
Yeah, so not a lot of people know about this program. We don't typically advertise it.
They do now.
So this program is HUD also, and it comes with a different acronym every time we get the funding. It started in 2010. It was called the Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing. Obama was part of Obama's plan. A couple of years ago, it was under ICAH, Interagency Council on Housing and Homelessness. Last couple of years, it's been ESG, Emergency Solution Grant.
ESG, Emergency Solution Grant.
So the tough part about it is HUD defines homelessness different than
We
three
would.
of us.
Right.
Right.
When I use this grant, I have to use their definition of homelessness. HUD defines homeless as a person living in a place not meant for human habitation.
Right.
A car, the woods, an abandoned building, a shelter. Not sleeping on your friend's couch, even though it's not your place, not doubled up, that's not homeless according to HUD. We have to follow those guidelines. It's federal money, we get audited. If we don't follow the rules, we don't get the funding, and we have to pay it back.
Okay, Matt, you can pull down that picture.
You know, I think I'd mentioned to you before, we did a 3-year look back through this fund, and of the 77% of the people we housed haven't been homeless again.
77% that go through the Emergency
Solutions
Solutions Grant.
So it does come with some case management, some follow-up. We ask people to meet with us for at least 30 days, go through a budgeting plan, show us that they can save money so they can afford the apartment. We don't do the apartment searches for them. They actually find an apartment, they build a relationship with the landlord. We continue to check in, although that's not funded. We just continue to check in with people. If they don't stay housed, they're homeless, and they'll slide back to the shelter or slide back to the street. So we kind of tie it into everything else we do and visit them on a regular basis just to make sure you know, housing someone, I mean, so it's housing first is the,
The mission.
The goal.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Housing First has a couple of different definitions, but that started in the US in late 1999, I think in LA, ended up in the East Coast probably in 2001 or so.
Housing First?
Yeah, I
Housing
think it was
First, okay.
Seattle initially.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think it was Seattle
And
initially.
the idea is to take the homeless and house them.
And then wrap
first,
the services
and then
around
bring the
them.
services to them, as opposed to making sure everything's in place. So that is the model we go with.
You get them you get them the housing, and then
And-
within
and-
30 days they have to meet all the.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everyone. You know, some people have more needs than others, but and you know, the idea behind it is again to get everybody housed, but and then just to continue. I mean, a flaw in the system I think we've seen is there isn't any. There's funding to get people housed, but there's no funding to work with them once they're housed.
Sustainability.
Unless we can connect
right.
them with their providers and services in the community, but it's communication.
So it sounds like you need to work with a lot of community agencies together in order to.
And we all
for
do. I
a
mean, and
comprehensive
we all
approach.
know what the rules are, but we all know what that little area is that we have to work
Right.
in too.
Well, Kevin, why don't you talk about the just happened this week?
So
Good.
we've had a long-time homeless couple, senior citizens, husband and wife, no children, both with disabilities, that have most service providers in this area know this family.
We all know them very well.
Very
How
well.
long have they been homeless that you've known
Years,
about them?
I would say.
In and out of homelessness, in and out of apartments, in and out of cars. They live
In and out of the
Right.
hospital,
I
absolutely,
mean,
and they were in their car
this
for a long
area,
time.
I remember about 3 years or so in this area. I think it was prior to that, but
all last year they lived at Monument Square in Leominster, outside.
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 Right downtown.
yep.
Yeah.
And so their first, what was their recent point of contact with your agencies?
So they've been in and out of all of our places
Absolutely.
quite a bit as the weather got
Multiple
colder.
times.
They showed up at Fitchburg City offices, City Hall, on December 21st,
Okay.
looking for shelter.
So they showed up right to the city municipal office saying, can I get help?
Yep,
And so they referred them to you?
The mayor called me.
Yep.
We were able to get them into a hotel that night. December 22nd, they showed back up at Fitchburg City Hall.
Really?
And the chief of staff called me and said, what can we do? I said, send them to the library. So that was December 22nd, was the Friday before Christmas.
Okay, yeah.
It was snowing that day. I said, send them to the library and I'll meet them at the library. So I was able to finally connect with them at the library about 3:30 in the afternoon. We talked about their housing possibilities, their housing applications. They told me they had a letter from Fitchburg Housing that they had been accepted and offered an apartment. So I asked them to show me that letter. It actually wasn't a letter, it was an advertisement from Fitchburg Housing that said, if you make $1,000, this is what your rent will be.
But the list for
for some
Fitchburg Housing
reason-
Authority is very long. And
They, for some reason,
Years.
thought that was actually an acceptance letter. They also, at the same time, showed me another acceptance letter from Elks County Housing Authority in Johnsonburg, Pennsylvania. That letter looked almost as wrong as the Fitchburg letter, but it was mailed to them on December 14th. It said, you need to call this number by 4 o'clock on December 22nd to take advantage of this housing opportunity.
where was it mailed to them?
At the hotel where they'd been staying.
Oh.
The longtime users of local hotels, that they actually get mail for them. I called the housing authority, left a message, was able to call. We put them in a hotel through Christmas. I had some FEMA money that I had to spend by the end of December, so I put them in a hotel for 9 days.
Okay.
That depleted my money that I needed to spend. Followed up with the housing authority tried on December 26th. No one answered. December 27th. Long story. For the next couple of weeks, we've been bouncing this family in and out of hotels. Between you guys, you, myself, United Way, and Gardner CAC has really helped quite a bit.
Gardner CAC?
Community
Action Council.
Yep.
Community Action Council.
Yeah, they've
Yep.
helped quite a bit with this family.
They do a lot of good work.
So, because the only hotel that would take this couple was in Gardner, because they had burnt their bridges at the Days Inn and at the Motel 6 local, so we had to get them to somewhere else that could take them.
Now, Can we talk about what might have caused these years of homelessness? Or is that?
A lot of times, it's mental illness.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a
for this
variety of
couple,
things.
it was mental illness. There's also substance abuse. There's again, we said
Ill
mental
health.
health,
Yeah,
ill health.
Health is a big thing for them. Mental health and mental illness is big for them. Poor money, so between they get
Yeah.
$1,100 a month, they get their check on the 3rd, and because they were homeless, they would spend the next $700 at a hotel for 2 or 3 weeks. The last week of the month, they had nowhere to go, so they were
Right.
homeless. They'd end up on our doorstep. They were living in hotels as much as they could.
So they want to get an apartment?
They do, but
In this case, yes.
coming up with the first, last, and security, that's a big.
It's like
hurdle.
$2,500 sometimes.
So with them, we continue to work with them through the Elks County Housing Authority. I had to provide all their IDs and proof of income and all that kind of stuff. I got an email from Elks County last Friday, and it was last Friday.
Yeah, it was-
And needed to come up with. They said they've been accepted.
To Elks County.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Johnsonburg, Pennsylvania.
Are they going to go there?
Well,
So.
Oh, yeah, here
we
comes
have
the
an
payoff.
update.
So Friday, I sent an email to about 15 providers that we've all dealt with that I thought knew this family, and spelled it out. They've been accepted. I'll rent them a U-Haul, $350. I looked at moving trucks. It was going to be too much money. I looked at putting them on a bus. It was going to be 20 hours for a 7-hour ride, 3 transfers. Wouldn't work for them. They had about 30 bags and boxes of their personal belongings in storage. So found out Ray had a driver's license. Got a U-Haul for $350. They drove their stuff down. So I needed that money. I needed they need to come up with security deposit, the money for the rest of January, some gas cards. So I asked for donations. I told all these agencies I was passing the hat.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Monday was a holiday, and I wanted to move them yesterday because I knew the storm. I wanted to. Everybody chipped in.
Oh, yeah. You showed up, right on Monday, so it was,
Yeah.
it all worked
City
out.
of Fitchburg contributed, Catholic Charities, Ginny's, and they arrived at their apartment at 4 o'clock this afternoon in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's a success story.
It's a big win. I think that's what
It
I
is
said
a
in the
big win.
email.
That's what you
For-
said.
for-
Exactly. No, it
Takes
really
a
is.
village.
Because it took the village.
They
and
were living outside for the past year.
Yep.
More.
Yeah.
Or longer.
Yeah.
Now I've blocked Elks County from my phone. So it's back.
That's right. That's exactly right. No, that's
So I mean, that's a collaboration right there. I mean, I don't think I've ever sent an email or passed the hat, but
I don't remember
we all
that happening.
we all know this couple,
Yeah, we do.
and that's what it takes. It takes every piece of this to work because
None of
I
us
wasn't
could have
in a
done it
financial
alone.
category.
Right. None of us could have done
to
it
do
alone.
it. It worked out very well.
So one question I had from the group was talking about the Our Father's Table pantry, food pantries, and how that works. There's a new food pantry where you can shop.
Yeah. So that's not Our Father's Table. It's Our Father's House.
Our Father's House at Our Father's Table.
No, it's Our Father's Table and Our Father's House use the same church.
Okay.
So it's the Faith Christian Church at 40 Bowtell Street.
Okay. And Our Father's Table is not affiliated with Our Father's House.
It was back 30 years ago.
But,
It's
yeah.
not anymore.
Okay. So at the same location, though, on Bowtell Street, there's Our Father's House Community Pantry where you can shop.
Yeah, so Wednesdays, it was 5 to 7. We've changed it to 4 to 6. So 4 to 6 every Wednesday. Once a month, people can come. If they come more than that, is what it is. We're not going to turn anybody away. Food is set up based on the food pyramid and in categories in tables across the church hall. And there's suggestions on amounts at each table that they can take. If family is up to 4 people and they take the maximum amount at each table, then they can feed a family of 4 21 meals.
21 meals.
Yep.
And how many families come between 4 and 6 on Wednesdays to
So
Our Father's House
we did
Pantry?
300 families last month.
Last month.
Yeah. So it depends on the time of the month.
Right.
It depends on when they get their money for food stamps or whatever. I mean, we
The
thought,
last Wednesday of the month might be
the Wednesday before
busiest.
Thanksgiving, we weren't busy at all. The Wednesday before Christmas, we were packed.
Yesterday we were slammed, the day before the storm.
And so, and all your organizations all have food pantries?
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
And ours, they shop too. They've been doing that for about 4 years now. When I got there, we changed
Is
it
that
over.
typically how the pantries work? You can
It's called
shop,
client
or-
choice, and it's really the popular way to do pantries now.
Space.
It's
Nobody, if you don't have the space, you don't
right.
have the space.
It's space, but it's also, when I first started in 2014, I was getting sick of coming in the morning and finding beans and things like that on the stairs because people were handed a box and
Then they don't
didn't
want-
want something and they just leave it there. So we changed over to the client choice, and it's been great.
When did you change over to client choice?
It was mid 2014, probably June or something like that. I started in March, and it's been a success ever since. We served in December. We served over 800 families.
In December.
Did you do Christmas meals, Christmas baskets?
We did do
Yeah.
Christmas toys, not meals.
Oh, okay.
We did Christmas toys for kids and things like that, and
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving, we did a whole Thanksgiving basket with the turkey and all the fixings, and that was 225 families we served.
225 families.
Yeah.
And what's your geographical area that you serve?
Again, it's 20 cities and towns. I'll be honest, I think since I've been there in 2014, we've seen one person from Harvard, but we serve Harvard. But it's mainly Leominster, Fitchburg, Clinton, Gardner are really our 4 big ones that we serve.
We're Ginny's is primarily a food pantry.
Primarily a food pantry.
We are. That's really what we are. We got a grant a couple of years ago from the United Way to do a strategic plan, and we do provide a variety of services, and we help people in a variety of ways. But we are really focused on our food pantry. We do fuel assistance. We do provide temporary emergency shelter by putting people up in the motels. But we really focus on our food pantry. We're open 5 days a week, and we're partnered with the Worcester County Food Bank. So, the food that we get, it's federal. There's a Massachusetts component of it, and then it's a federal program, USDA program. So I think we probably operate under very similar circumstances.
We're all part of the same food bank.
Part of the same, with
Same
Worcester
food bank.
County.
The
with
Worcester
The
County.
Worcester County Food Bank.
Yes.
So you're all pantries within the Worcester County Food Bank.
Correct.
And so they provide you with food just to replenish your stock.
That's exactly right.
Correct.
They
Yep.
provide us access to the food. We have to go get it.
Okay.
That's right. We
Yeah.
go get it. That's exactly
That's
right.
true.
That's a big
That's why you
truck.
have the big van truck.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
And how often do you replenish your?
Depends on what your needs are. I mean, you could go once a week easily. I mean, you might even go that often.
We go probably anywhere between 3 and 4 times a month.
Yeah, I'm
we try
probably
to go
twice
once
a month
week.
right now.
Yeah, we're the same about 3 and 4 times a month. We do one big shop a month where we actually rent a U-Haul and get over 10,000 pounds of food. And
Every
then-
month you rent
yeah.
a U-Haul.
And then we go once a week to get, things like milk and meats and things that
Oh yeah.
Right.
that go quickly.
They send out a nice inventory every week. The Worcester County Food Bank, they'll send out an email and they'll say, they'll have little bits of news, and then they'll also tell us what their inventory is. So if there are eggs, if there's milk, if they have fresh vegetables, we all make a beeline
Yeah.
to the
And there's
to the
certain
food bank.
deadlines too. So the Massachusetts
MIFAP.
MIFAP, we have to get by
Massachusetts
the
Emergency Food
third
Assistance
Monday of the
Program.
month or something. Whereas USDA you can get every week, whereas
That's
MIFAP
right.
you can only get once a month. So you have to plan it accordingly to what your needs are. So
Correct.
we do, right now we're only probably doing once a month, maybe sometimes twice a month. Because at our pantry, we're offering different things each week. We have a couple of sources that provide food for us. So I don't necessarily have to have eggs every week and milk every week, and I might have something this week that I didn't have last week. So it's different choices for different, but we make sure that every category is covered.
Right.
Yeah, we do too. We also have local partners that are through the Worcester County Food Bank, but they happen to be local retail operations. Both
Like Hannaford might
the
have
Hannaford
extra.
markets. We pick up from the Hannaford markets at least 3 times a week. Target is a very generous food partner.
Aldi's is generous. Panera
Aldi's.
Bread is generous. There's a few of them.
And BJ's Wholesale.
Yeah.
The really nice thing, particularly for us anyways, in my experience, is that BJ's and Target provide really great fresh produce.
Oh, yeah.
Great fresh fruit, really nice vegetables.
3 days a week we get stuff from Shop and Save and Air, and it's
Yeah.
the same thing. I'll have 20 banana boxes full of produce and frozen meats
Right.
and different things like that. And that's supplemented not only the shelter, but the
Absolutely.
food pantry in a way that you could never think of. We're not buying that.
Right.
No.
And so these are things that you provide to the public at our Father's House Pantry
Yep.
once a week, and Ginny's 5 days a week, and Catholic Charities
5 days a week,
5 days a week.
8:30 to 4. Yep.
Great.
Yeah, it's amazing, the need.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to talk more about this, about our charities.
Hello and welcome to FATV, Fitchburg Access Television. Each week we take pride in providing some of the best public access television programs in New England. From FATV live sporting events, city meetings, and school functions, to weekly shows such as Barbara and You, Inside and Discussing Fitchburg, Sports Weekly, Weekly Wellness, and Our City. Our dedicated staff of industry professionals and hard-working volunteers is here each week working behind the scenes, making it all happen. Besides on air, our programming is also shown live online, where you can see our shows in beautiful high definition. You can also search through our archive of past shows and watch anytime at your leisure. But did you know you can also be part of the action? Become a member of FATV, and you gain access to all the equipment, studio space, and classes that FATV has to offer. You can create your own show, volunteer for exciting live events in our studio, or all around the city in our high-quality mobile broadcast truck. The possibilities are endless. For a small fee, you can become an individual member. Or for a little more, you and a group of friends can become part of a rising trend in the future of television. From sports shows to news shows, civic events, and talk shows, you can be in the driver's seat by directing and even starring in your own production. Also, students are free. FATV staff can assist you by getting your new show up and running with professional industry standard equipment, TV studio time, and private editing suites. All you need are friends to help out, and before you know it, you will be on the air. So if you have a great idea for a TV show and want to share it with the world, stop by 175 Kimball Street, Fitchburg for a free tour of our facility. You can also contact us at 978-343-0834 or email us at info@fatv.org. Fitchburg Access Television, working together for a stronger community.
And we're back discussing Fitchburg Now. We're talking about charities with Catholic Charities, Ginny's Helping Hand, and Our Father's House. All right. So I have some questions from the audience. All right.
Good.
So let's see what we got. Why do some people who are homeless refuse to go into the shelter? That's from Sean Krieger.
Shelter life isn't for everyone. Four walls, being confined, rules. You know, if someone comes to our shelter, you got to figure that they've burnt all their friends, they've burnt all their family, you know, nowhere else to go. But we have strict rules. You know, we had close to 1,000 people come through the doors last year.
1,000 people.
Yeah.
We also have to be sober, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they
Yeah,
have to do
sobriety
drug
is a
tests.
piece.
right. So sobriety's an issue, and one of our rules. No drugs or alcohol for at least 24 hours, and you got to want to change your life. You know, if you're coming to us, we're not a hostel, we're not a crash pad. We're there to help you get back into. Yep. Not everybody likes rules. There's rules everywhere you go. There's rules at church. There's rules at Tedeschi's. There's rules at the train station. We have rules at the shelter.
Some people really like to live outside. I mean, in my experience, we've had people that really like living outside, even in the freezing cold. I mean, we've had people that we, have tried to get into our Father's House. We've tried to find other living situations, and they had our meal coming to Ginny's, at Mechanic Street, and they would come in and get their mail, but they really didn't want help. They came in and got food from the food pantry. You know, they'd get blankets occasionally if they needed socks, you know, that kind of thing. But they really, beyond that, they were not interested in any
personal
other
choice.
kind of help. It is. It's
Right.
very,
You know, so-
sounds crazy, but that's
So
the way
our
some
Father's
people
House
want to live.
shelter, for example, we're a 9-bedroom house.
9 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms for females, it's 2 beds in 3 of the rooms and 3 in 1. For the men, I have 5 bedrooms and there's 3 to 4 beds in every room. So now you're living in a room with 4 other guys.
Yeah, and that's not for everybody.
That's tough.
It's not fair. I mean, it's not. You're living with everybody, everything.
If you have trouble with other people and
I mean, there's that. There's mental health issues. We mentioned it before. You know, people being in a space like that with that many other people, it can trigger them, and they think better of it.
We require people to be med compliant. So if they're prescribed certain medicine, they have to take it. If they say, I don't want to take it anymore, they have to bring a doctor's note that says, you're not going to take it. Not everybody likes their medicine that they're on.
so if they don't take it, then they cannot stay.
We will discuss their options at that point, correct. I mean, you know, we don't, for us to ask somebody to leave the shelter, they had to have done something pretty major.
Violence.
Yeah,
something like
you know,
that.
we have a warning system, and it's up to 4 warnings before you're asked to leave.
So if you're there and then you have a drink,
Yeah, so it depends on how much of a drink you have. Now, I'm not going to let somebody stay if they smell of alcohol. If someone has drank every day since they've been there, then we'll talk about detox, if that's what they want to do. Years ago, if someone drank or relapsed and drugged, we would just ask them to leave, tell them to come back in 5 days. In the last 8 years, we've changed that up a little bit. So we've decided to be part of the solution by offering you another choice. If you've relapsed and you're continuing to use and you need detox and you're willing to go, we'll provide transportation to detox. We'll save your bed for you at the shelter. You complete detox, we'll bring you back and slide you right back in.
so that's more community partners with detox, you know, with the available beds within the state.
Yep.
But that's an ongoing challenge. I mean, whether it's detox, whether it's, you know, opioids,
Treatment, right.
opioid treatment, and even in terms of housing, because we seem to have enough short-term, the temporary emergency bed, whether it's for, you know, temporary emergency shelter, we can put people up in a motel, whether it's for emergency detox, whether it's for emergency drug treatment, drug addiction treatment, but then you get to a point where, you know, you need transitional beds.
It's
You
the
need
long-term.
It's the long term, and sometimes it's the bridge, you know, and for opioid treatment, it's the CSS beds, it's the stabilization beds.
CSS?
CSS, it's critical stabilization, something
Are
stabilization.
these are like 2 months or
They're
longer?
probably 30 days,
30
and
days.
then you get into the longer term treatment beds. So I think we have very similar problems in terms of homelessness because, you know, Kevin in our Father's House have temporary emergency beds, and they've got, you know, transitional housing. But then, you know, getting people from transitional housing into longer term housing,
Right.
certainly from my perspective, has really been the
Oh,
ongoing
absolutely.
challenge.
So, you know, our Father's House has a transitional home for women in recovery. So women can stay.
Elizabeth House?
Elizabeth
Yep.
House, correct. So women can stay there for 2 years.
2 years.
They have to have 30 days documented sobriety. So coming from a program, they could be on like a level 3 probation if that's documented sobriety, and they pay 30% of their income to live there. There's 1 or 2 women in each room. They have to go to, you know, meetings daily. They have to be involved in their own recovery. We also have a West Street Sober House. We opened a year ago, October. It's permanent housing for men in recovery in downtown Leominster. 19 beds there.
That's the one that just opened?
Yep. So that's 42 West Street, right across from City Hall.
Right downtown.
Right next to
Permanent
the-
housing.
Permanent housing.
Permanent
So
housing.
transitional, you can stay for 2 years. Permanent, you can stay for as long as you want. It's still a program house.
So it's like is it like a sober house?
So it's a sober house, correct? And it's run on the Oxford model, and the Oxford model is that there isn't a case manager at the house, that people kind of do their own thing. There's a live-in house manager, and there's a resident council. So people that have been there vote in a president, vote in a vice president. They kind of decide, there's strict rules, but they kind of decide, talk about everything that goes on in the house, and those positions change depending on who lives there. But
And then you
everybody-
have drop-in counselors that come visit a few days a week.
Yep, we do that, correct.
But the day-to-day is like a peer support system.
Which is the model that you
It's
know
a
people
great-
are moving to. It's
a
really
great model.
It is
I
a
mean,
great
we're
model.
we're still have, you know, we're keeping our eyes open for more homes and a similar idea, because so one of the reasons we opened that is we get calls every day from guys that, you know, making $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month maybe, and they want to live in a sober environment, but they maybe need a roommate to survive, and they're how to keep your roommate sober and how to, so they're used to rooming house living. That's why we opened.
How about the family shelter, though? Talk about Devon's.
Yeah, so we do have a contract with the state for 20 homeless families. We have 13 apartments at one location at Devon's, and we have 7 apartments in one building in Fitchburg.
Which is huge, because this is for families.
This is family.
this
This
is
is
for
families, not
13
just individuals.
A 13 apartment building
Yes.
in Devon's.
and
At
a
Devon's.
7 apartment building in
Yeah,
Fitchburg.
so we actually have 7 apartments in a 12 apartment building.
Okay.
We rent 8 of the apartments of the 12 available.
In total, you have 20 apartments.
We have 20. So the one in Fitchburg, we rent 7 for families and 1 for an office.
Are these transitional apartments?
So this is part of that,
Rapid housing?
no, the first one.
ESG.
No,
The Massachusetts?
But it is
Home base.
transitional. It's 18 months, right?
no.
No.
So
Okay.
this is part of the state emergency assistance.
The
emergency
EA
shelter,
beds.
the EA.
Yeah. Okay.
They,
Can we pull up that Massachusetts emergency assistance slide again?
so Devon's is, it's called Transitions at Devon's, and it's a closed referral shelter. So people can't just knock on the door and get, they have to be referred from the state system. They have to be referred from DHCD.
They have to call
They
this-
have to
the number?
qualify through this category at the state level. That's part of what's called the home base program. The model is that they stay for 3 or 4 months and move out. They get case management for another 18 months after.
Okay.
But the program is actually, you know, a couple of year program. Mock provides case management for us at that program.
And MOC also helps them find housing, correct? I mean,
Yep.
they help them
So
through
part of the
process.
home base program actually pays, I can't remember the exact figure, it was either $4,000 or $8,000 that they pay towards housing, subsidized housing for the next year, 18 months. They get continued case management after. So the shelter is transitional, not long-term, it's supposed
Right.
to be 3 or 4 months in and out.
Can you leave that slide on this back screen, Matt? So that we can read it? And then go to the next one? Wish I had the button. Oh, so here, yeah, so here's
Here-
how to
here are
get
the
help.
numbers, that's right.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, so the Lowell and Worcester addresses, those are the ones I've had the best luck at. There's 10 locations in Massachusetts that people can go. The 866 number, I'm assuming it's on there.
Yeah, Lowell
Um,
and Worcester are kind
yeah.
of separated in big.
Yeah, so those are the ones that I have the best luck at. Worcester's the easiest one to get to, but they're nicer and Lowell.
It's a process. You know, it's a
That's right.
challenge.
Hopefully no one's listening.
Nobody from the office.
Don't even. So really, that's and it's tough if you're a homeless family. We used to say there used to be a location at the DTA office in Fitchburg.
Yeah.
We tell people there was a rep from DHCD there every Tuesday and Thursday morning,
Yep.
and we tell families go down there with your kids in tow, all your clothes, and don't leave. You might sit there all day,
But
but they
yep.
can't lock the door and ask you to leave. That used to be how easy it was.
But that office is closed.
Right.
Right.
So we don't have a local rep anymore for homeless families.
You have to go to Worcester.
Now it's Worcester or Lowell.
For the Massachusetts.
Right. That's for homeless families. I mean, there is the Interfaith Hospitality Network, which has a local location and also has shelters throughout the state. Those are independent shelters. But for homeless families,
The
Well, and the
options are
waiting
very
lists-
limited.
Yeah, the waiting list for family shelter, like you're talking for Interfaith and other places, is through the roof. It's
And-
it's
and
A
really
that's-
long waiting
I've
list.
never had luck with the Interfaith Hospitality Network,
Not local.
just because they're always filled. They're always filled and they
have
don't
a
have,
long waiting list.
they do.
local they have long, but I've had fairly good luck if the family's willing to go to another
Relocate?
location. Right.
Yeah, like Pennsylvania. Okay, I have another. The next question is kind of right along those lines. Do you drug test applicants and why?
So at our father's house, we are a sober shelter. So we do drug test on admission. So if someone comes in and they said, you know, we want 24 hours clean. If someone comes in and says, I drank yesterday, we'll go from there. Still going to alcohol swab them, still going to drug test everybody.
Everybody.
We want to know. We want to, and we want to be able, we're there to help. Certain drugs stay in your system for longer times. You know, marijuana stays for 30 days, depending on how much you smoke. If you're a chronic smoker, could stay for 6 months. You know,
So if they smoke marijuana, are they're
yeah,
not
we
allowed
we follow the federal guidelines on that, correct?
federal?
Yep. Yeah, because we do get federal funding.
Right.
So those rules aren't, I mean, we are a private organization. But we do, some of our funders come with different rules, so we do adopt their rules.
So if you test for marijuana, THC, if it stays in their system for 30 days, someone says, "Oh, I smoked last week."
Yeah, so we don't
If
have
they
to.
have a medical marijuana card, does that still not count because of federal?
We haven't
It's a good question.
crossed that line yet. We haven't, right now, we're still following federal, and
You haven't crossed the line, meaning even if they have a medical ID card for marijuana, you still do not accept them?
He's saying, I think he's
They haven't
saying
had
no
that
one has
case
You
yet.
come.
haven't had
we
that
haven't had it.
situation
Right.
happen?
right. So if marijuana stays in your system for 30 days, and you're still positive at 30 days, we're probably going to ask you to leave because we're going to assume that you continue to smoke in that 30 days.
But unless you see signs of someone being high, if it's in their system, you'll still accept them? Is that
Correct.
Okay.
If someone tests positive for opiates, for cocaine, for anything, there's guidelines on how long that's going to
Right.
stay in your system. So opiates.
So
is
you'll
gonna-
test them again?
72 hours
Yep.
or
Yep. So we give people 5 days, unless they have. So benzos will stay in your system for 5 days too, unless you have documented liver issues. If you have documented liver issues, then those will stay in your system for 15 to 30 days. So many times people have had continued test positive for benzos and tell us they don't have liver issues. We then ask them to get tested for Hep C and find out they're positive for Hep C, and there's your liver issue. So we work with people. I mean, as long as they're not appear under the influence, nodding off, falling asleep in the middle of conversation.
You can tell.
right.
Okay, the next question is, do you encourage community volunteers, and how can the community help volunteer? That's from Marilyn Baroob.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, as do we. And I actually saw a slide earlier. They're all about our volunteerism. So
Right.
We do too. We have at Ginny's, we have a very, very small staff of people, and we
For your food pantry and your store?
for everything, the operation. So we are primarily a food pantry, and we have a thrift store that really supports our operating costs. It supports our operation. So that's how we, do what
You
we do.
document your volunteer hours?
Excuse me?
Do you document your volunteer hours?
Oh, we sure
How
do.
many do you have a month? That's
Absolutely.
what I'm getting
Oh,
at.
how many we have a month? You would ask me, Kevin, and I can't tell you right
So-
now. But we have, we have, no,
No,
we
right.
have, 25 volunteers, that are plugged in
So,
routinely.
A lot of nonprofits are documenting their volunteer hours because that's compared, that your in-kind stuff.
that's your
You
income stuff.
required volunteer hours for certain, for
Grants.
schools
Yep,
or
for grants.
For grants.
probation
Yep.
Right.
or?
But Kevin's talking as far as the agencies are concerned. If you're trying to get a grant, they say, "What's your in-kind donation?" You can document the volunteer hours and count that
That
towards your
actually has a
in-kind
dollar
donation.
value.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, like minimum wage?
Right. We keep schedules of everybody, so
Right.
everybody who's coming in, so we know our staff is coming in, we know who our volunteers are coming in. And again, I had mentioned earlier about our community service people, because we get a lot of referrals from the local court system of people that are required to do community
You have to
service
do 200
hours.
hours of community service.
Absolutely.
You can choose to do it at Ginny's or Our Father's House or Catholic Charities.
That's
right.
right.
And DTA requires a lot of community service now too, with to people to maintain their SNAP
Absolutely.
benefits.
That's
in the
right.
You're right.
beginning.
Yep.
To maintain your
That's right.
SNAP benefits, you need
Yeah,
to do
it's
community
called
service
they're
for-
called ABODs. It's able-bodied
Able-bodied.
adults without dependents.
Yeah.
They short it to ABODs, and those are people, they can have their SNAP benefits, but they have to either be working or volunteering or doing some type of community service, and it
I
all
like
has to be
that.
documented. So
Well, that's also part of anybody receiving welfare benefits, TANF
Yep.
benefits.
Yep.
They have to
TANF?
work. Yes,
Yeah.
they can continue to
transitional aid
receive.
for needy families.
Thank you. Transitional aid for
All
needy
good
families.
acronyms.
So a requirement is that people have to work 20 hours a week, and we've had folks receiving that kind of assistance work 20 hours a week in Ginny's for a long time.
So how can we, the community, volunteer with your organizations if we're interested?
So we have a volunteer form right on our website.
A volunteer form on the
Yep.
website.
We ask people
Yep.
to fill it in, and it goes right to our volunteer coordinator. And volunteer coordinator at our shelter is charged volunteers there, and also the food pantry. So she knows the schedule. I mean, we often are booking people months out right now to serve meals at the shelter. We're booking 2 or 3 months out for open days.
Oh, wow, that's
Um,
great.
That is
Right.
great, yeah.
Right. It's same with us. On our website, there's a link to our volunteer coordinator, and it's not a very long process. And we also have not only the office in Leominster, but we also have Worcester and Southbridge and Milford and Whitensville. So we get people from all over, and we couldn't do, I don't think any of us could do what we do without volunteers.
No, we couldn't. And people can also go to our website and volunteer. There's a form there that will link them right into us. And we can put people to work right away. So we don't have a waiting list for volunteers. If people want to come
What
and
are
volunteer,
some examples
please
of
come.
volunteer needs?
Volunteer
something,
needs?
yeah, something.
So we have.
I want to help. What can I do?
So we have the food bank run, the big one we do monthly that we
Absolutely.
mentioned earlier.
To drive to
Yep.
get the U-Haul.
Yeah, we have a clothing closet, which is free clothing every day. Anyone that wants to come in and get clothing, they can do that, and we need people to help organize that. It's clearly not my strength. And then we also have people that help people shop for their food. There's a number of things.
Yeah, at our food pantry, for example, we need 12 volunteers every week
12 every week.
at the food pantry because of the shopping cart process. Everybody that pushes a cart around has a volunteer with them to help them shop.
Something from like 3 to 7 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Yep.
Yep. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, basically 10 to 5, and we have people that we need to work in our thrift store. So we are sorting clothing, hanging clothing, selling clothing. And also we have a lot of general merchandise. We have furniture, we have household items, we have appliances, I mean, you name it, and we have it. And I think people, when they come into Ginny's, they're very surprised at how big the operation is when you come in, because we have a little storefront. But the
But it's
operation,
long.
it's very long and multi-leveled.
Oh, there's multiple levels.
I was in there the other
Absolutely.
day and I was surprised. It was very busy, but it was like a well-oiled machine, the way they were all working with each other. It was impressive.
We have a really good team. We have a very small, core of people, but we have really great people. And we also have really wonderful volunteers that have been with us for years. But we do have, in terms of volunteer opportunities, working with our clothing, working with the thrift store, in terms of, putting out merchandise. We have our window. We have people who like to do window displays. They have some fun with that. And then we have people who, help, like Brian said, we do major runs to the Worcester County Food Bank, and that's a really hard job.
Labor intensive.
It's
You gotta
very
lift
labor.
boxes and load
Oh,
the
yeah.
truck, and then you gotta
It's-
drive, and then you gotta unload the truck.
It's labor intensive. So
It
you do all of that. You get back to the organization.
unload it all.
You have to unload it, and then you have
And
to
then you have to
bring it
unpack
into the
it,
pantry.
right.
Sort it.
Sort it. And then we have people making bags of food every day. So we're doing a lot of prep work in the pantry and waiting on customers. So we have a variety of.
And we do use a lot of the
Volunteer
residents at the
opportunities.
shelter to help with those things.
Sure.
That we have that pool daily that we do draw from.
Right. We actually have a volunteer right now who's teaching budgeting classes to some of our clients. And it's
So
going
volunteers
really well.
to help teach
She's
essential skills.
She's a retired banker, and she loves doing it. Excuse me, a retired teacher, and she loves doing it, and it's going really well.
So if people are interested, go on the websites, fill out the
Absolutely.
form, and they might be able to match you up with
Right, and there's
your
a,
desired
it's not
volunteer
just like we mentioned the
activity.
manual labor type of things, but it's
Oh, absolutely.
we could use people to help with computer skills, resume writing. There's a lot of different areas that we have needs that people could match up with.
Absolutely. Marketing, business skills. People out there, who want to come in. We have a really great volunteer bookkeeper, who does all of our financial work every single month. But we're also looking, you're right, not just labor-intensive kinds of things,
Design
but
a
things like
flyer.
marketing materials, absolutely, that kind
And
of
there are
stuff.
some volunteer that sometimes people ask us to volunteer in certain areas that I have to say no to. I have people that want to go on the street with me.
Right.
That mean I'm taking a volunteer to some homeless person's home, and it's not always the safest thing to do. So I always say no to people that want to do that, because that's just a different.
It's a privacy thing too, because homeless
really
people and
is.
the people that we serve, I mean, we protect their privacy as
And
well.
it takes a while for me to build up a relationship with people on the street, and I just can't be bringing my friends over to take a look at them, So it's.
All right. On that note, let me see. Yep. Well, I guess we answered this one, but do you actively perform outreach? Do you visit known areas to hand out blankets and counseling? Do you have a van to pick up folks that can be convinced to take a room? That's from Christine Saracino.
Yeah, so we actually, we've been working with the police departments lately on that for transporting.
Police department to help transport.
Yeah.
That makes
during
sense.
During the last, the real cold snap, Chief Martineau.
It was negative 8 degrees.
In Fitchburg, actually let all his officers know if anybody needs transportation
To go to the warming shelter
to the warming
or a warming station.
Yeah.
Center.
Yeah, they different names, but
With the
to-
Salvation
that they
Army.
that they were allowed to transport them. transported for a long time. I've kind of cut back on transporting people, but just because there's some dangers involved in that as well. But we can always figure something out.
We don't transport people necessarily, but we will provide bus tickets, to get people to Fitchburg or even to Worcester. I mean, we've helped people get to different places with a variety of things that include public transportation mostly.
Public transportation?
Yeah.
We do provide blankets. I mean, I do keep blankets and food and all that stuff in my truck on a regular basis, and whenever I go and visit, I make sure people have those things. Anybody that comes to the shelter anytime and knocks on the door and asks for any of those things, we give them to them.
And as far as keeping warm, actually, St. Leo's, the National Honor Society at St. Leo's School just did a coat drive for us and brought us over 600 coats that we're going to be distributing to whoever needs them. So.
Who brought you the coats?
St. Leo's, the National Honor Society from St. Leo's School.
Oh, nice.
Leominster.
600 coats.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And you distribute those with your clothes closet, or you actively outreach to?
No, we just distribute with the clothes closet, whoever needs. And, we have to keep an eye on it. Want to make sure someone's not leaving with 2 trash bags full of clothing. But in general, the clients are really respectful, and it goes really well.
One of the things that I do want to mention, we have our thrift store, so people come in and we sell clothing that's donated at very inexpensive prices. But we also do donate clothing to people who come in. And we'll have a lot of people come in that have a referral. They're going on a job interview. They need a suit. They need a tie. We have people who have arrived here from Puerto Rico or from another place with nothing really but the shirt, the clothes on their back. So we also provide. We also donate clothing and household items and things like that to people that need that kind of thing. So I just want to get that message out there too, so people know that.
To end on that note, we have 3 minutes left. I have, what are some of your ongoing needs, donations, and how do we drop off donations, from Heidi Kowaleski-Neely?
So I have on my website, we change the list on a regular basis. It's a donation
Things,
category.
the needs are listed
And
right
actually-
on our Father's
It actually
House
lists
website.
where to drop them off, either during the day or at night.
What are the general items that are always
Socks.
socks?
For us,
boots?
a big thing, because we never get any, is any hygiene supplies. Soap, shampoo, deodorant. We don't have a ton of that. When we get it, it goes very quickly, so that's always welcome.
Soap, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrush, deodorant.
We've got a lot of that, Kevin.
I'm Brian.
Brian, I'm sorry. Kevin.
have a brother.
No, you were whispering over here.
I know.
But no, we do. We have a lot of, so
Right.
call us because we can help with that.
You're going to regret you said that on TV,
Okay.
but okay.
No, but, well, no, I'm serious. That's why I'm saying it.
I would love to.
But we do. We're very, very fortunate. Pet food is
Pet food.
something that, we get a little bit, but we do have a lot of people that are having trouble feeding their pets. So, pet food, we would love to have donated.
Do you have a separate area where you have a pet food pantry?
We have it. Yes, we have it in our inventory. No, we do. It's we have
The pet food rack?
our inventory. So we have. I can see the corner. It's like one big rack of.
Do you do that as well, a pet
pet
food area?
So if we get it, we have had some dog food and some cat food donated recently. We put that right next to our gluten-free section.
Put it next
so
to
for us,
diapers.
it's actually funny. Maritza, who works with me, just on Tuesday set up a pet food pantry, and they're opening within the next couple of weeks. She's getting all the donations in, and we're going to be doing that as well.
It's a big need.
And she has a regular supply with another agency. So
Have you ever worked with Sophie's Mission? I know that they're
have,
they're like a mobile pet pantry.
that may have. I don't even know who Maritza reached out to. It could have been them. I'm not sure.
Their trailer is my old trailer.
Oh yeah, it's painted very nice now.
Yeah.
It's pink. Yeah,
You didn't like the basic black?
They actually wrapped it in pink.
yeah, no, it's nice.
It's awesome.
All right, so we're just about out of time. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming on.
Thank
Kevin
you.
MacLean, Our Father's House, Sue Chalifouc-Zephir from Ginny's Helping Hand, Brian Calnan from Catholic Charities. And you can go to their websites
Please do.
to volunteer, to learn more about your organizations.
Absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to close with? We got 20 seconds.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Sam, for having us on, and thank you to everybody out in the community because we live in a very generous area. None of us could do the work we do
We have a great
without
community here.
the support.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. All right.
Sorry, Kevin.